Vidhammer Fantasy.
Big butt.
Okay, hey everyone. This is Spudlow with Vidhammer, and we're doing our first ever podcast. And as you may be aware, dick butt apparently is the word of the day. I'm here, we're talking over the Wood Elves, a new army book that has just come out, and somebody is a little bit creamed in the genitalia area over this, so he's probably going to end up doing a lot of talking, and that's Grady.
I love
Also
how.
joined.
I love how. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. You know you got a lot to get out. Go ahead and get it out.
I love how you're gonna have to edit dick butt, but you can talk about me creaming over a book.
Oh, I'm not editing anything. This is all going up raw. More than likely, if it gets too bad, we'll just delete it and start it over again. We've also got Ryan, Robbie, and Steve here as well, and we're just going to be talking over the Wood Elves and what they're doing these days. So,
Humping trees.
Startup question, yes. What kind of new models are out, and how are they looking? And I had my cheat sheet, and it's gone now, so that's perfect. I'm going to look at it while Grady tells us how excited he has been over the past 2 weeks about these guys.
I'm pretty excited, but now it's, the newness is already going away.
Wow,
What?
really? The shininess is already gone?
The shininess is already... No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm pretty excited. It's going to be fun. They are not going to play the way they used to play. I know that. But the new models, I guess, first release was a Tree Man kit, Aeroloth special character, in the book, and the Shadow Dancer, the War Dancer special character, or just hero. And then the second release, I guess, comes out next weekend. Will be 2 dual kits, and the end of the release, which will be Sisters of the Thorn and Wild Riders dual kit, and an Eternal Guard and Wildwood Ranger special kit.
That's pretty crazy. Are your pants on at this point as you're doing the podcast, or have they already come off?
On.
Whoa!
Oh, good. We get something to look forward to.
A bit. How about the Stag Riders? When are those guys coming?
Next weekend.
Okay.
The Reindeer Riders.
Yes, which look interesting. Depending on what side of the coin you're on, they're either incredibly awesome or incredibly lame, depending on how you perceive the Wood Elves to be.
I think the heads and the antlers look kind of weird, but I also think it's pretty silly paint schemes in the book so far. So
I can agree there. I also don't like the contact points. I think that's going to be problematic.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest issue with those models is there's not one. I think there is one stag that's more than 2 points touching the base. Yeah, like they're just going to be knocked around.
Very fragile.
Yes, most of them looked a bit like the Mournfang cavalry. They're reared back, and only their back 2 feet are on the base, and the front 2 are going to lift it up.
But they're not nearly the size.
Yeah, Mournfang are a lot sturdier.
Those very small ankles are going to cause some problems.
Mm-hmm. Dead ankle.
Otherwise, Eternal Guard look great. Wildwood Rangers look great.
So, how about War Dancers? One of the things I wanted to try to get a little info on is their new dances that were coming up. We talked a little bit about this when it was still in the rumor stage, but now that the book is out, what dances can those guys take? Is this going to be as big of an effect as we were thinking about before?
I think they're going to be pretty good support units. Let me pull them up right here. So, are we going to be saying point costs and everything?
No, try to avoid point costs. I'm still going to be uploading this as a free video, but I'd like to avoid them being able to take it down if they're going to. But
they're
just
7.
Just general idea.
I'm gonna for your Skaven audience, I'm gonna refer to them in slave points. So they're 7.5 slaves a model.
I'd just say if they've gone up in points a little bit, just kind of say if they've gone down
I don't
by a little or
I don't
a lot.
know the old point costs. But anyway, so you want to know about the dances?
Yeah, and I just avoid like the doing point costs to to the actual point. You can just kind of say they're basically the equivalent of a chosen or a marauder or a Skaven slave or a
Okay, they're
or
almost
whatever.
they're almost a temple guard.
Okay.
Yeah. So they choose a dance every fight
They
phase?
went down. They went down in points.
Okay. Well, that's good. You can take a champion and a musician, no banner. They're still skirmish, 2 hand weapons, so 2 attacks. And you can exchange the hand weapons for the spear. So the spear is, armor piercing, +1 strength on charge, but you would lose out when attacked. Anyway, these dances, you pick one at the start of each close combat phase. You can't pick the same dance twice if you're in consecutive combat. But like, say you were to kill something.
Oh, like clear out a unit and like overrun or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it says dancers cannot choose the same dance in 2 consecutive rounds of combat. So I guess not. I guess if you were to kill something, overrun, you couldn't pick the same dance again. But
yeah, because it'd still be the following round
Yep.
of combat. So it's not whether it's a different combat or not. It's just a consecutive round of combat.
Mm-hmm. But so their dances they have 4 different ones. Whirling Death gives them armor piercing and killing blow. Storm of Blades gives them +1 attack. The Shadow's Coil gives them a 3-up ward save. And Woven Mist means enemy units in base contact with this unit receive no combat result bonus for extra ranks. So you charge them in with something else that's gonna kill and win combat, and you either take a charge on your turn, take a 3-up ward save, and take your stubborn check in the woods because you're skirmish, and then flank them, or you charge some knights, try and get some killing blows off, or you combo charge and reduce rank bonus. So an instant +2. Is it 2 combat bonus? Because it says extra rank, so you'd still get the. No, it'd be 3 combat bonus.
I think this was one of the things that I believe Robbie was touching on earlier. A possible strategy being of going in 1 wide and trying to take away your opponent's rank bonus, and hopefully being able to win the combat out of that. Weren't you mentioning this one, Robbie?
I think it was Steven, but yeah, it's kind of like the same idea with having just that stubborn unit where you don't care, like hammers or something like that, where you just go 1 wide and conga line.
And same with Eternal Guard now. Eternal Guard are core, which is worth mentioning, but you just go 1 wide and be stubborn, and then you're taking less attacks. Especially if you get that 3-up ward save, you're gonna be taking less attacks. Then you combo charge, get your on your turn, get your magic off, reform wide, and go for the +1 attack or killing blow or deny rank bonus. I don't see any problem with either one of those.
Nice. Now, the Rangers have got great weapon capability. Who else in Wood Elves can actually take great weapons now?
Characters. Glade, heroes, and lords. So do you want to go by unit, or do you want to go by like army special rules, magic stuff?
Just basically, talking about the things that we think are worth noting. I don't think we need to do a full cover-to-cover rundown of the army book. But basically, people are just looking for impressions of how it's going. Yeah, basically the highlights, the things that we can expect to see. One of the things I really wanted to talk about, if you guys have got ideas for it so far, are what units can we expect to see in the roles that most people commonly associate with their army lists. Usually not all army lists, and it's not a majority, but there's a significant number, if I remember to speak English, a significant number of people that play, and you'll see them having the hammer unit, the anvil, what the chaff is going to be, their flankers. So
in the end, we should all just pretty much label or list off our cookie cutter thing we're expecting to see, or at least in those certain special units.
Yeah,
rare
like
units and stuff.
what do you expect to be in the forefront of that
Well-
hammer roll? Taking that one unit of actual rank and file models that's going to come in and punch something hard. Is that
Well,
going to be your
beforehand
Rangers
there was no hammer unit really in the Treeman or in the Wealth book other than Treeman or Treekin, and now they are all have their so Dryads are strength 3 now. They're not strength 4, and they're just as expensive as the rest of your core. And they gained hatred. They're the worst. Treekin lost its strength. Treeman lost its strength. Treeman even lost attacks.
So they're trying to push more elves than actual, like the treemen and the
buy our new
dryads.
kits. Buy our new kits and play rangers. You're going to see a lot of rangers.
Grady said that, not me.
That's fine. GW's a big little girl.
Yeah, and that's more than likely why they're going through some more than just rumors in a selling process in the upcoming months. But we can talk about that later on.
So too. If you look at what their object would have to be with a Wood Elf release, not many people play Wood Elves. Why are they going to do all this work for stuff if it's just going to be add a box here, a box there? No, every Wood Elf player, they're looking to reorganize their entire list. Yeah, complete revamp, which is turn around, buy all these boxes if you want to play Wood Elves. And we're going to change the entire army up. It plays differently. You can still do the avoidance stuff, but it's not nearly as well. I shouldn't say not nearly as good, but we can get into the Glade Riders later. How they have ambush. They have to start the game off the board.
It's pretty similar to what they did with dwarves too. I mean, with the way that people can build dwarves differently, you don't have to sit in Castle Dwarf if you don't want to, i.e. the way Stephen plays Estrola's army. And I think that's what they're just trying to do in the same respect, because look at all the new kits that they can sell. You can actually have gyros and all the mobility. Dwarves actually have more mobility, and I think they're just doing the same thing with Wood Elves. They're just selling new kits.
So you can make decent combat blocks with Wood Elves, even though we only are ever going to get up to a 5-up armor save on our ground stuff. So let's talk about the Rangers real quick. They are special. They are the same point as an Eternal Guard, same as a Saurus, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
So they're cheap. Weapon skill 5, strength 3, tough 3, initiative 5, lead 9, and their special rules are what's great. So they got a great weapon and light armor, ASF, so they're swinging at initiative 5, Forest Stalker, so we should do the special rules in a minute. But so they got Forest Stalker, Guardians of the Wood, and Immune to Psychology. So Guardians of the Wildwood means they get +1 attack if they are in base to base with a Fear or Terror special user. If they are in base to base with somebody who causes Fear or Terror. So it's a lot of armies that just everything that's undead, ogres,
demons, a lot of chaos.
Cold One Knights, a lot of chaos. Orc and Goblins not so much. Trolls.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that causes fear and terror. That's for sure.
Not to mention all those items you can get to make your characters cause fear or terror.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, everything you want your great weapons swinging at, which is big and nasty, generally causes fear or terror.
Yep.
Yeah, which was the point I was going to make. Usually the nastiest stuff your opponent's army has is the stuff that causes fear and terror.
I want to say they are armor piercing as well, but I don't see it.
But everything is.
No, I don't see the Rangers being AP.
I actually think that's actually a pretty good strength, considering, like, in the Dark Elf army, I can take a Witch that makes you take a fear test at -3. So, I think that's actually a good thing for them, because even if they fail it, they have the extra attacks to help. Oh, they're actually immune to psychology, right?
Yeah, they're ITP.
So that's just even better for them.
Yeah. And being ITP is great. You know, they're only going to have the 6-up armor save, but what makes them really good is when they're in the woods. So here's the special rule that Forest Stalker that just about everyone gets. A model of special rule has the Forest Strider special rule in addition. If at least half of the models in a unit are within a forest, they get the martial prowess from High Elf and the martial prowess from Dark Elf. So reroll 1s to wound in close combat, and they get to shoot in an extra rank, and they get to fight close combat in an extra rank. It's huge. So
They get both of them.
yeah, if as long as you're halfway in the woods.
Which, why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? And
Yeah.
what else makes this awesome is you take Rangers so wood elves get their own free wood that they get to place, right?
Mhm.
And they can choose what type of
Free
wood it is. And they can take an acorn, which is a magic item, costs 100 points, but you get to add D3 more woods to the table. And you choose what type they are. So you just make them all. You just take a big block of Rangers, park them right in the middle of an abyssal woods, and say, "Come at me." Because whatever touches that woods is going to cause fear.
Yep.
And if you already have something fear causing, it causes terror.
I don't think that works.
I don't think it
Does,
works like that.
does it not get the up?
No.
Oh,
Mhm.
I thought it did.
That's the
There's a
death
couple
spell
things
that
that
no
do
one
that.
takes.
Oh yes,
There's the shadow spell that if something already causes fear, it causes terror.
that's what I'm thinking of.
Or death, I'm sorry.
All right, let's go over the rest of like the generic rules, because those are definitely big points worth talking about because they're good. So you get if you're not in the woods, you don't get any benefit. So wood elves are gonna want to select their combats carefully and not just bulldoze across the board. But all their mages get +1 to cast any spell while they're in the woods. It's huge. And they get access to high magic and dark magic.
Along with
better lore
all
attributes than dark elves.
With way better attributes.
Yeah, run over the signature spells again real quick. Or not signature spell, but the lore attributes. If they choose High Elf, Magic, or
okay, so high magic for high elves is the +1 to the ward save, right? Well, for the wood elves, it's called Ancient's Protection. Whenever a wood elf wizard successfully casts a spell from this lore and it is not dispelled, place a protection counter next to him once the spell has been resolved. Whenever the wizard or a model in the same unit as him suffers an unsafe wound, and there are one or more protection counters next to him, remove a protection counter and treat the wound as if it had been saved. Huge. So, in close combat,
extra wounds.
when you'll roll your ward saves on, or whatever, it goes through. Okay, no, it doesn't. Treats it as if it's been saved. It doesn't count toward combat rest.
Oh, jeez. That's even worse.
That's even better. I didn't know that. Didn't even think about that. That's even nicer.
That's a little ridiculous.
Especially, the thing that bothers me the most about that lore attribute is the fact that it can go on anybody. It doesn't even need to go on the caster. So, as I was saying before, you could potentially get into a combat where one of your characters could get killed. Say your BSB that has very little protection gets charged by a unit that is threatening. You could cast all that crap in the magic phase and just put the tokens on your characters and not care. And essentially just be invulnerable for that close combat phase as long as you can potentially cast.
Well, she would have to be in the BSB's unit, which means she's getting threatened too. It only works for her and the unit she's attached to.
I realize, but if that's my point, is you can put multiple characters in that unit, or you could even put it on a unit champion if you really want to. You could put the unit champion a challenge out like a demon prince. Say the demon prince walks in, and your unit champion will challenge the demon prince. Then you just put the tokens on the champion and not care.
Well, and you're right, and it's not. I don't get to choose. Oh, I want the champion to die. If he takes 5 wounds and there's 5 tokens there, I've got to spend them all.
Mm-hmm.
No, but what he's saying is it's non-discriminate. You don't put it on a character, you don't put it on a champion, you put it next to the unit, and it's just the first 5 or whatever they get taken from any source. So he could essentially, if your demon prince is not ASF, which is, I don't know why it wouldn't be, but if let's say he's not, and other things are attacking, and the demon prince happens to go last for one reason or another, then all those tokens are then used up, and then he would get smoked.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, that puts a little more strength in that. What about the dark magic one?
The lore for dark magic is the real cock punch to the dark elves, because their lore attribute is so bad compared to this. So it's called Wrath of the Wood. Whenever a wood elf wizard successfully casts a spell from this lore and the spell is not dispelled, place a vengeance counter next to each target once that spell has been resolved. Whenever a unit with a vengeance counter suffers hits from a spell from the lore of dark magic, remove those counters and increase the number of hits inflicted by D3 for each vengeance counter removed. Roll separately for each counter. So you go hex, hex, get 2 hexes off, put 2 counters on that unit, hit them with Doombolt, goes off, Doombolt does its number of hits plus 2d3.
That's pretty nice. Clearing out chaff and individual models just got a lot easier.
I do have a question about this. When you combine it with, say, Blade Wind or the Black Horror, so a Vortex causes a certain amount of hits. Do you add the counters there, or Blade Wind? It says every model hits itself.
You know what, Grady?
What's up?
If you do Hex Hex and then cast Doombolt, they're gonna get hit with an extra 3d3 because it says.
Oh, you're right.
It says to do it whenever the spell is successfully cast, not upon its completion. So even if we're just casting one Doombolt and letting it go through, they're going to get an extra D3 just right off the bat.
Yep. So let me read you Blade Wind. You know the one where you take a weapon skill check?
Yeah.
So it says every model in the target unit must pass a weapon skill test or suffer a strength 3 hit. So it hits every model. Do you roll D3 and then each model takes a D3?
No, I would assume.
I think that's cheating. But
you take D3 more hits after all is done, because
it's probably like how you would resolve like the Zine.
Wait a minute. You said the spell was strength 3 for the Blade Wind?
I think it's strength 4.
No, Blade Wind is
strength 4 AP.
Yeah, sorry, strength 4 AP.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. In conjunction with lowering someone's weapon skill, I've had that cast on my warriors, and it can be painful.
Yep.
That's going to be some fun time.
So the fluff has, the high elves and high magic guy and dark magic guy going into combat together and balancing each other out. The whole nature yin yang motif thing, and the way it works out in rules too, it makes Power of Darkness not that bad. You cast Power of Dark, you cast some high stuff, and you cast Power of Darkness to get more dice and increase your strength by 1. Say you're running around in that bunker of Shield of Thorns ladies, or Sisters of the Thorn, which we'll get to later. But so even if he generates 3 dice and he takes the win, no, he doesn't. The high magic takes that away.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question: is how interchangeable are the lores? Can you take high and dark magic in the same army? And if so,
yes.
Are there limitations placed on it, like a certain number of casters that you can't go
Nope.
over, or spell levels? Does one of them have to have more levels in it? But there's no restrictions at all. You can just be like, no, I want a level 4 high magic, level 4 dark magic, and screw everybody.
You could very well do that. However, they are elf. I think the biggest thing to realize is that this book is still appropriately priced to be elves. So everything costs a butt ton of points, like 300 plus for a good caster. Like expensive stuff.
Well, that's reasonable, especially considering the special rules that are allowed, and the biggest thing, having access to 10 lores.
10 freaking lores.
Every BRB plus high and dark is pretty good, man.
It's great.
So, you should be paying for
with
the ability to do all that. Yeah, plus one to cast in the woods.
Standing in the woods.
Yep.
So all the time.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you be in the woods?
It's definitely going to be a very versatile army in that regard, because the magic phase you can pick what your specialty is going to be.
Well, you'll own the magic phase, unless you're facing something like Light Council or something stupid like that.
But you could just bring your own Light Council and do it better.
This is also
true. Or just
true.
take the dwarves and have 6 different dispel runes.
Doesn't matter if you double 6 it.
Yeah, very true.
Stand in the woods and double 6 its ass.
Well, at least they don't have the protection that high elves have. There's no Banner of the World Dragon that allows you to just make it so I don't care. I throw 6 dice at everything.
So the one thing that keeps us really different, or that the other elves have that we don't, knights. We have fast cat. That's gonna be it. We have wild riders, which are pretty much Khorne knights with ASF and a crummy armor save. but yeah, we don't have 1-up armor. We don't have good armor saves anywhere, even on our lords.
You're
We
kind of
can't
naked
survive
wood
on it.
elves.
You got to realize, coming from a Skaven player, I have no real remorse or pity for you in that regard.
Okay.
But here's what you do
Well-
have, at least in the term, the sense of ranged attacks, is that you have all your guys are in forest, so right off the bat, everyone's at an additional -1 to hit you for cover.
Yep.
So that kind of negates not having to worry too much about armor because they got to hit you first.
Yo, let's go through the magic items, because those are a big deal. That we don't have the pages and pages, so there's no. The old book had spites and alter kindreds and stuff, and you don't have any of that anymore. You just have a lord choice, regular stuff. And anyways, these items, I don't know how good they are or aren't, but there's a few that are almost auto include. Like the Hail of Doom arrow is still here. 3d6, strength 4, armor piercing shots, 1 use only. Kind of a big deal.
3d6. That's
Number of attacks.
quite a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just saying that's. Yeah, you're averaging 10 attack, strength 4, armor piercing. That's pretty good. You're taking down
But
some pretty heavy
That's
stuff
only
with that.
that's only a 1-use thing.
Yeah, it's the same as it was in the old book. 1 use only, strength 4, armor piercing 3d6. So I think you just put this on your BSB and take the rest of the points of something mildly defensive.
So, without going through exactly how many points that is there enough points after taking that to also give yourself a potion of strength?
It's not strength of user.
Oh, well, that's a
Yeah.
crimp and a
And
damn fine plan.
So it would be worth noting there's a new hero that's kind of like a Waywatcher guy. He's got 1 attack, 1 bow shot, but his bow shots do. You choose what kind of bow shot he takes. Anyways, he can't take this. You can't take this item, so you can't have 3d6 strength 4 sniper shots, which would be gross.
Kind of like the witch hunters with the ruby ring.
Yeah, but he can take the Bow of Lorien. So you know right there that it's going to be cheaper than the Hail of Doom arrow. But the Bow of Lorien is range 30, strength 3, armor piercing, volley fire, which is the same bow that everyone has, by the way, except this one has your number of attacks plus 1. So you can put this bow on somebody with a crazy ballistic skill, like a Lord level guy, and he's just pumping out half a unit of Glade Guard per turn.
Well, you also will have access to high magic to improve your ballistic skills, so even if you put them just in a unit of somebody that can shoot and drop the buff on them, it's still going to be significant.
Yep. But you really just want to take this bow on somebody who's got a good amount of attacks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're on the subject of being able to hit things relatively easy, let's talk about that whole, need 3s to hit and we reroll 1s thing.
Boy.
You don't do that. That was just a rumor.
It's reroll 1s to wound, I do believe.
It's reroll
so
once to
that's-
wound in close combat only.
Yep. It's very, very similar to Murderous Prowess.
But
It,
what you
it is
could
murderous
do,
prowess,
what you
as
could
long
do
as you're in the woods.
is you take
Yes.
the high magic and you give all your ranged guys the bonus to ballista skill. And I don't know, would that pump them up to 7s with that spell?
It's D3, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be D3. So anywhere from your Glade Guard would go from blitz skill 5 to 7.
So the potential to have to of getting rerolls to hit with hitting on 2s.
Yeah, I think hitting
Yep.
on 2s would probably be good enough. That's pretty nice.
Especially with a large volley of fire. We've experienced that where you have high elves that there's 40 of them or 20 of them hitting on 2s. It's really painful.
So we're bouncing around here, but this is bringing up the whole Glade Guard thing. So Glade Guard used to be make a gun line. You have no penalty to your ballistic skill to your hit modifier for moving. You don't have that. You would have to pay for that now. Now there's this whole enchanted arrow business, which have different point costs, and there's 5 of them, I believe, maybe 6. And they take your averagely costed Glade Guard up from being average to being the cost of it's pretty much like upgrading a Saurus to the Temple Guard, or even beyond that for the toughest one, which makes it like a I don't know what to call that. But it's pretty much just more expensive. But you can either get poison on your shots, you can get don't take any modifiers at all, so you just treat everything as if it was short range. You could get +1 to wound upgrade for destruction only, +1 to wound upgrade for order only. You can get fire arrows. You can get.
Well, isn't the flaming arrows part of the +1 to wound?
I think it is actually, yeah. You're right. The other one would be multi-shot 2, and then the final one, which is the only one that costs the most expensive, is AP -3, which is huge.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But
It's
man, that
pretty
makes
awesome for shooting down.
Anything.
down armor. But man, your armor,
shooting down
your
Bretonian knights. Just ouch.
you pay what's called a premium for it, though. I'll be honest. Your army's going to be your L's to begin with, but when you start doing that, you're going to be even fewer bodies. And you know what you're also doing is you're taking all the negative modifiers. You're taking long range. You're taking shooting through cover, and your Blitzskill 4, which is great. So you're really going to need that Hand of Glory spell to buff it up to 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah.
But what did they gain? They gained ASF, which is great.
Yeah, helps you out in actually some combat, but I wouldn't expect them to be taking very much if you've got a lot of forest action out there. What's the unit you expect to actually be taking the damage, to be kind of in the anvil role? Is there a core unit or special unit that's cheap enough that you can actually put enough models on the board to try to stave off a charge of some kind?
I don't know, Robbie. Is there?
I don't know. What are you suggesting? Aren't Eternal Guard are pretty solid, aren't they? But they're special, aren't they?
I mean, let's be honest.
They're core.
It's going to be the Eternal Guard. Yeah, them.
The stubborn core.
The stubborn core, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be painful because you can just, like I was saying earlier, just hammer them up, put them one wide if you're afraid of a charge. Just sit there and be stubborn and not carry leadership 9 or 10. It will be painful for sure.
And you gotta also look. These are a bunch of strength 3. This army, as good as high magic and dark magic is, don't get me wrong. If you're playing the avoidance game, I'd say go high magic and maybe dark magic. But if you're playing combat blocks, just go shadow.
Shadow, yeah. Mind Razor.
Guard or
not even care.
I mean,
You know
Eternal
what?
Guard, you're talking about 1 point less of strength than a Dwarf Hammer for essentially the exact same thing with light armor and core.
And also, always strike first.
And that too. Yeah.
Don't forget about that.
Great weapons
Well-
at initiative. 1 attack only, but I mean, stubborn core for costing way less than a Dwarf Hammer.
Well, you take a block of Eternal Guard and you take a block of big Glade Guard and buff them however you want to. Charge the Glade Guard in and get Mind Razor off. They're going to kill anything you want to. ASF, skill 3. I mean, and then you make them strength 9 or strength 8. No, strength 9.
Well, you also got to remember, if you're bringing, because you get the +1 regardless of what lore it is, as long as you're in the woods, right?
It's all the time.
So, a 5+ for casting Mind Razor. I mean, if you have a decent wince of magic, you're going to get Mind Razor off.
I like the idea of Shadow, and I don't think it's that boring when you've got a whole army of no armor save, so you do have to play pretty careful with it.
Obviously.
So how about the fast-moving units that you've got in? What have you got to bring for
Everything in the
mobility
army.
and flankers?
Everything.
They're elves. Movement 5. You got the Stag Riders.
We got Stag Riders, and then we've got Stag Riders, and then we've got Warhawk Riders, and then we've got Eagles, and then we've got the core that have to ambush Fast Cav, and War Dancers, the skirmish quick guys, but yeah.
You had mentioned Great Eagles aren't going to be that great for you. Huh, no pun intended there.
I think they will. I mean, they're rare, 2 of them. Because I don't know, I'm not gonna be wanting to take a bunch of combats.
Well, what else? What else do they share rare with? The ancient treeman or whatever.
Just the regular tree man, which I don't know why you'd ever take, because tree men are now strength 5 with. Well, they have 5 attacks. It's the tree man ancient that only has 3 attacks. The lower choice only has 3 attacks. So the tree man's not
What?
terrible.
That's like what they did with ancient stegodons. Ancient stegodons have less attacks but higher strength. But the treemen don't have higher
Oh.
strength.
Do they have any kind of special attack out of the deal, or
Well,
interesting options?
now you have to pay for Strangle Roots, which is their shooting attack. So 12-inch range, strength 5, multiple shots, d6 plus 1.
Did they go down in price from the previous book?
Yes, a little bit.
That's probably GW's justification, because usually when they do a giant multi-part plastic kit like that, they
About
make
to
the
say, they
rules
release the
relatively
kit.
good.
That's going to be tough to get off too, because even though that multi-shots d6 plus 1 with the strength is kind of nice, range 12 means you're going to be lucky if you get one off. You're getting in that close. Either it's going to be in combat with somebody else, or it's going to be charging you.
Well, you're the tree man, you're the roadblock, so that's fine.
Yep.
Come at me. They're going to be coming at you, so whatever it's
Especially
gonna
with
be.
the surfboard base.
And honestly, with the tree man, you offer up your flank.
Mm-hmm.
You just offer up your flank, because you're going to be stubborn. I don't care about that plus 1, I care about all those extra attacks that would have been hitting you otherwise.
I was going to ask, do you foresee the tree men being more of a tar pit or more of a flanker? And it seems like you're suggesting it's going to be more of a tar pit.
Let me run down the stat line for you. It's movement 5, so you can't flank that well. Weapon skill 6, blizzard skill 6, strength 5, tough 6, 5 wounds. Initiative 2, 5 attacks, lead 9. Large target, forest spirit, so he's got, as long as he's in a wood, he is also rerolling. He's fighting an extra rank, haha, but he's also rerolling once to wound. Scaly skin 3 up, stubborn, terror, and tree whack.
Beachy slap.
Love that.
Yeah, it's called beach slap. Beach trees, get it? Get it? No, so you can
Okay.
you can
A quick explanation of tree slap though for people listening.
can choose to make a single tree whack in place of making his normal close combat attacks. Nominate an enemy model on base. They take an initiative test, and if they fail it, they suffer d6 wounds with no armor saves. You can do this in a challenge as well. So it's a meh.
That's kind of nice.
It's similar to the Soul Grinder claw attack, but it's not just like, oh, I'm going to pick this guy.
No, you pick a model.
Oh, you do? Okay, so you can just pick a model out of rank and file even if you're not in a challenge?
So I could walk
Okay.
up to your trolls and pick Frog.
Initiative test on poor Frog.
But you would have your regen.
It's still bad.
That's the nice side
Anyway.
to it is.
The big deal is rare is you're going to want to take your eagles, your 2 eagles, and you're going to want to take your Way Watchers. These are the best archers in the book. They're amazing, and they're still only metal models. Blister packs are 3 Way Watchers each, and they cost $17.95. That's why they're still so good. So, Ballistic Skill 5, rare choice. Really expensive, probably almost the cost of 2 Glade Guard.
But at the same time, Iron Drakes.
You can't take any of the
Yeah.
you can't take any of the enchanted arrow upgrades or anything. But they have scout, they have 2 hand weapons, skirmish, ASF, forest striker, and here's the big deal: the hawk-eyed archer. Every shooting phase, you choose before you shoot whether or not you're going to shoot with multi-shots too, or are your shots going to ignore armor completely. You ignore armor completely and just pew knights.
I don't even want to think about that. Don't even want to think about that.
They're expensive.
Yeah, well, so are Skull Crushers, and when you're completely ignoring armor, it makes my face hurt.
Yeah, it's going to be a very specialty-oriented unit, though. You've got to make sure.
Well, yeah, it'll
your
hunt
opponent,
down armor.
Yeah, you got to make sure your opponent has something out there that they're going to be able to get their points back with.
You can Death Star with them too, though, unfortunately, because they are. You have model unit size is 5+. you can Death Star them, which is frightening.
So what you're saying is Eric will have a giant unit of them.
Yep.
Of course.
If he plays with my Woodies, yeah.
Yeah, the downside is you start doing that, your opponent's just going to want to stay away from them.
Well,
Get the
the downside
entire-
is magic missiles are going to rip these guys a new one.
Yeah, and your infantry class, so you're still a nice target for Dwellers and Dread 13th.
With their scouts there, they can get up there close and personal if they want to. Hey, let's talk about these Stag Riders.
Okay, the Stag Riders. The reason why the Wood Elves are the best army now is because they have Stag Riders. And the reason why the Wood Elves suck so bad is because they have Stag Riders. But let's talk about them.
Fast
they need to be
Cav.
talked about.
So, do you want to go over? Let's go over the Wild Riders first. The escorts of Orion.
They're a bunch of escorts, huh?
They're a bunch of escorts.
So it's Orion's escort service?
That would be awesome. You just put give them pimp hats instead of the helmets the new models have. So they're pretty much Khorne Knights without the armor save, and they have ASF and they're fast cav.
Ugh.
Or at
But
least
they
on the
are
charge.
frenzied?
They're strength 5 on the charge. They're frenzied. Strength 4 otherwise. The steed itself is move 9, weapon skill 3, strength 4, initiative 4.
9. Ouch.
Yeah, fast cav. But they've got ASF, devastating charge, fast cav, fear, forest stalker, frenzy, and talismanic tattoos, which gives them a 6-up ward. Hand weapon, light armor, can take shields for a little bit more. And they got the spears that are armor piercing plus 1 strength on the charge.
They already have devastating charge, right? You mentioned that?
Mm-hmm. And they can take a magic standard, not too expensive one, but they can take a pretty expensive one. I just can't wait to play the Wood Elf player that brings a Razor standard to the battle.
Jeez, those for
Nobody gets the
man.
joke.
For
Nobody gets
fast
the joke of taking a
cavalry.
Razor standard.
Yeah, the fact that they're fast cav is pretty painful.
Yeah, that's the nasty part.
But they are. You're gonna put them on the flank. They're lead 9 frenzy checks. Gotta overrun.
Okay. I do
Hey.
leadership 8 frenzy checks all day long. You'll be fine.
I'll be fine except for that one time. They're frail. I mean, again, they're frail. They're gonna have a. You give them shields, they're gonna have a 4-up.
Yeah, but
Mounted light armor shield, yeah, 4-up.
the only real unit you're going to want to put out to try to redirect those guys, if they fail the frenzy charge, they're probably going to be able to destroy whatever unit they're trying to throw out there to block you anyway.
True.
I mean, as fast cav, you should be able to put yourself in the opportune position. If somebody else is going to put something to block you, it's going to have to be something like Dark Riders. They're going to fast cav and get in your way just a little tiny bit. If you do, heck
Whatever.
with it. Go ahead and take the charge on them. You'll tear them a new rear end.
True. Whatever they charge, they need to kill because they don't want to take anything back at them.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Tomb King chariot builds. You know, they're nice as long as you can get them to continue on and kind of smash across your line.
It's an office
Well,
strike.
the ASF will definitely help with that.
Yeah.
It's all about the office strike.
I'll have to say again that all these things in this book that are only tough 3 with no armor are just really going to shift the meta to more. You're going to see all those strength 4 options that were in your book that you didn't take before, like Cold One Riders for Lizardmen, Lore of Fire, etc. They're going to be good against Wood Elves, and they're pretty good against High Elf and Dark Elf.
Shooting in general, too, as long as the stuff's outside of woods.
Yep, correct. Or even take a big block of Night Goblin archers with the poison banner. No, thank you.
Oh, God. Somebody won a GT with that, like last year.
Disgusting. And really, I guess that's it for the Wild Riders. You could potentially make a big old Death Star with some Lord characters in it. And
Like
heroes,
the Burlocks.
Yeah, but it's got to overrun. You wanna make a frenzy death star? Go for it.
No, I mean, it's not necessarily the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, coming from somebody who's constantly trying to get my stinking plague furnace into combat, it's not easy.
Yeah, so I think the only way these guys are going to shine is if I can turn around and clear off your chaff on my turn 1 or 2, and that
Well,
way
you have enough
they have
shooting
free
to do
range.
that. That's easy.
Yeah, shooting and magic looks to be definitely in your favor.
And then just set up combo charge and piecemeal armies off and use eagles to redirect the rest. That's how these guys are going to have to play.
So, Eagles for redirectors, can you take a lone model as a unit, or do you have to take
Yep.
like a group of 3?
2 lone
No.
models. Or I could take a unit of 10, YOLO.
At least it's not as bad as Beast and Nurgle, for God's sakes.
Take a unit of 10, take a bunch of beast magic, and just whistens them up. How funny would that be?
So, a single
Um,
Eagle, how are they comparing kind of strength and toughness and
They're the
attacks?
same as the
point-wise?
same point and stats as the high elf one, except we don't get any upgrades for ours, which is fine. Keep them cheap and redirect
Yeah,
stuff.
they need to be cheap. They're not meant to win combats. They're meant to just be in the way. Flying chaff is always a pain in the ass, especially single model.
Oh yeah, and the always nice for the inevitable charge over into the opponent's unit for the light brigade just to kill off one character that's got 1 point of damage left on him or something of that nature.
Well, I think one thing you'll see here is say you've got your wild riders charging the front or flank of something like let's throw out a spearman block, a high elf spearman block. You're gonna have to get them to be not steadfast, and one of the ways you can do that is A, shoot them up first, and then maybe you won't even be able to kill all of them off. But we're getting to the Sisters of the Thorn here, and they get the spell Shield of Thorns. That's gonna remove some more models and give you more and more chance to get to that breaking point where they're not steadfast. And you're gonna have to try and make that work. Let's
Yeah.
talk about these warlock sisters.
Yeah, the
Sisters of the Thorn is what they're called.
okay, there you go. It's a wood elf version of the Doomfire warlocks from the Dark Elf army, if I'm correct.
It's a
Pretty
level
much.
2 fast cav unit. Movement, well, they're going to be move 9. But the sisters up top have weapon skill 4, police skill 5, strength 3, tough 3, initiative 5, 1 attack, and lead 9. They come with a 4-up ward, which is awesome. They're the same point cost as a wild rider, and they can take a full command. Like the warlocks can only take a champion. We can take full command. They've got a hand weapon. They've got a Blackbriar javelin, which is 12-inch range, strength of user, poison. Great. ASF, Daughters of Eternity. That's their 4-up ward. Fast cav, Forest Stalker, poison attacks in close combat as well. And they have Deepwood Coven, so they're a level 2. Get +1 to cast for each additional rank, and they know Curse of Honor here and Shield of Thorns.
Dang.
Curse is going to be amazing, because we're going to struggle with those big blocks of, I don't know, whatever.
Anything. Make them take dangerous terrain and not care.
Yeah, please move. And we were talking about this. So when you're just moving on open ground, if you're not marching, I guess you don't take the test. But say you have Curse of Honor here on you, and you're charging my units in the woods, and you complete the charge. Well, first you take a dangerous when you declare the charge. Then you take another dangerous when you hit the woods. So you're going to be all of a sudden in a combat you wanted to a combat where you don't want that.
It's gonna just wreck cavalry. I mean, this is gonna be bad.
Ooh. Can
Oh,
you
Yeah.
can you take more than one dangerous terrain test in a phase?
Yes.
For
Yeah.
some reason I was thinking you couldn't, but I don't know.
If
I guess
it's-
I'm imagining things.
Well, it's because you're actually going into a terrain piece.
Then you take another one when you're
Yeah.
fleeing. If you don't
'Cause
get
you-
caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd take one for the spell effect, and you take another one for going into the woods, I guess. That would be very, very.
Well, what the spell does is
kind.
that you treat all terrain as dangerous, even open ground.
So it's a different terrain type.
Yeah, when you change terrain types, you would have to take another one. And you fail it on a 1 or a 2. So this is gonna. It's effectively our.
Oh.
Yeah, it's great. So you can even put this on. Okay, there's a chariot I really don't want to deal with. Charge or move and have a 1 in 3 chance of dealing D3 wounds to yourself.
D3 or D6
Or
for chariots?
I think it's D6.
D6 for chariots. Chariots can
Yeah.
essentially blow themselves up on a 1 or a 2. It's pretty awful. Especially
That's
with
pretty
having the
nice.
ability to move woods, like we were discussing.
Yeah, just park them where you want them.
Okay, so moving woods, because that item is way different than how we talked about, Robbie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. So this is a item. It's an enchanted item. No, it's a arcane item, and it's a little less than a dispel scroll. And what you do, the bearer generates 1 less spell than normal for his wizard level, but knows the tree singing spell given below. Goes off on an 8. Augment that targets a single forest within 18 inches. If there are no units within the forest, it immediately moves up to D6 plus 1 in a direction of your choice. So you can target it, be in it, and it won't move. Or it can have an enemy in it and it won't move. A forest cannot, here's the big deal, Robbie. A forest cannot move to within 1 inch of units or other terrain features. So I can't move it on top of your units. I can
Well,
move
you
it
could
in the way.
still drop it right in front of a 4-wide Skull Crusher unit and
Completely.
have no way of getting around it.
Yeah.
So you would essentially make me charge through dangerous or something along those lines.
Yep.
It's still effective, but it's not nearly as effective as we thought it would be, where you could just make a unit skirt the forest for a turn.
And then you can make it bigger. If there's a unit within the forest and it's enemy, you do 2d6 strength 4 hits to them. And the wizard can choose instead to have the spell target all forests within 12, and that goes off on an 8. 16. So what you can do, you can place one of your trees down, make it a blood forest, and then cast a spell on the blood forest.
Yep. And then it moves.
It does the 2d6 strength 4, does the blood forest damage, and then it moves. It moves twice.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've played in games with blood forests where the forest actually scored more points than the players did.
Been there.
I know those bastards can be rough.
So tree singing's pretty cool. That's the only way to get it now, and that's what our lore of Ethel Loran has been reduced to, is a cheap ass
Glorified
item.
Single
singing.
spell.
Yeah, an arcane item. Which is, GW did what GW did. I would mention the magic standards we get, except they are so freaking expensive, no one's ever going to take them. One of them gives you MR3 and Unbreakable for a turn. The other one gives you Vanguard and reroll your first. You can reroll your first charge of the game. They are way too expensive. Way, way, way too expensive.
Now, we should talk about that one standard for a second, because just mentioning MR3 and Unbreakable sounds amazing. So it should be noted that if you have to declare at the beginning of your turn whether your unit's going to be unbreakable or not. And on top of that, if I'm not mistaken, if the banner bearer dies, the unit loses that ability. Is that correct still?
I'll read it to you. The banner has MR3. In addition, once per game, all models in the same unit as the banner of the Eternal Queen have the Unbreakable special rule, or until declare using this ability at the start of any turn. Yep, and it's going to take all of his points allowed, so he's just going to be a naked wood elf guy. Kill him, and they're not unbreakable.
Yeah. See,
And they
so
don't have MR.
that right there, combined with the cost, makes that banner worthless, in my opinion.
Completely.
Yeah, and those of you who were wondering, those background noises were in fact Phoenix server World of Warcraft that Steve is currently playing.
Nope. It's a lie.
Everyone should definitely judge him.
Wow. Coming from the guy that got everyone to play WoW.
Yeah, including me, and it's like it's crack back in my veins now. But I have to split my time between war crack and making videos.
It's vanilla. It's not that addicting. For me, anyways.
You just want to play a Blood Elf.
I do want to play a Blood Elf.
Hoser.
Alright, so here's the really most expensive item we got. This Spirit Sword. Which I want to try and work
Oh,
with
God.
one day.
I don't want any part of that thing.
Oh, what is it?
You ready for this? Okay. It's not the full amount, but it's close enough to it to where you're not going to have much else to put on your Lord. Magic weapon. Armor saves cannot be taken against wounds caused by the Spirit Sword. Furthermore, immediately when an enemy character, champion, or monster suffers one or more unsaved wounds from the Spirit Sword, both he and the wielder must roll 2d6 and add their respective leadership values. If the wounded model's total is higher, or the totals are the same, nothing else happens. However, if the wounded model's total is lower, it immediately suffers a wound for each point it lost by, with no armor saves allowed.
So, bye-bye, Demon Prince.
And wait, that's for every wound you take?
No, so say I have this guy and I charge and I fight the say Robbie brings a Chaos Lord on a dragon. I
totally would do that.
If I cause one wound on each, I roll a 2d6 versus the Lord, and I roll a 2d6 versus the dragon.
Okay, but regardless of how many wounds you cause to
it only happens once.
Specific model, you're only going to roll for that once. Okay. At first, I thought it was if for every single wound you take, you're going to be rolling for that test. I was like, oh my god.
No, just if you wound with it.
Yeah, if you take a wound, then you have to take the test. But it doesn't matter how many wounds you take. You just taking the test.
Yeah, it's like your special character who does that. If he wounds, then he has to take your enemy has to take a toughness test situation.
Yeah,
it's gonna be. Gotcha. I see this sword working with a death mage.
Well, yeah, because you just lower someone's leadership and completely just snipe characters in that respect.
Yep. Goodbye, Gutstar.
And you don't have to worry so much about putting armor onto that person. If you're taking dark magic, you can, or you're taking high magic, you can use your wounds to pretty much try to protect that person, keep them alive.
Mm-hmm. So it'd be pretty cool. The other one is half the allotment of a Lord. It's all failed to hit, and the wound rolls are made with this weapon must be re-rolled, as must all successful armor saves taken against wounds. So I get to re-roll hits and wounds, and you have to re-roll successful armors.
That's kind of nice. And if that's only half of your points allotment, you can get something else in there to make them re-roll their ward saves. And yeah,
it's not bad.
Cutting through a lot of stuff.
So you also got one magic armor, the Helm of the Hunt. It's pretty cheap. And increase your armor save by 1, and it increases your weapon skill by 1, and get a devastating charge. Not bad. The Acorn of the Ages is all of your allotment for a Lord. Enchanted item, one use only at the start of the game. After the battlefield has been set up, you place D3 Citadel Woods on the battlefield.
You just poop trees.
You just dump trees on the battlefield.
Trees are bursting.
Nice, and there's no requirement for them having to be in your deployment zone or not in an objective.
I'll finish reading it. Yeah, forests can be placed anywhere at least 1 inch away from another terrain feature. Once all forests have been placed, scatter each 2d6. If the scatter causes a forest to end up within 1 inch of other terrain or within 1 inch of the battlefield edge, reduce or increase it by the smallest amount necessary to avoid the destruction.
It's like when the Blood Forest transports, essentially.
Yeah. When this has been done, declare which type of forest you want them to be. Choose from the types in the Mysterious Forest table. All forests created by Acorn of the Ages must be of the same type.
God, that would be so awful.
So you just take a crap ton of rangers and say Abyssal Woods everywhere.
We don't even need to do that, because if it ends up in, say, the trees scatter into my deployment zone, you could make them all the
Blood
6
forest.
forests or blood forest. I mean, you can make it to where it does damage to me on a 4+, or I mean, it could be really ridiculous. It's just the fact that you can choose what kind of woods it is, which makes it really, really strong.
Yeah, and you don't have to choose until... It sounded like you don't have to choose what type of forest it
So
is
you know where
until
they are.
after you move them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because if something just happened, all you need is one to end up being that roadblock, and you can just make it the worst forest for. I mean, you could make it a stupid forest for something that's low leadership, that's not near the general, and that could really wreck somebody's army.
The other two items, well, there's really one other item, and it's cheap. Or it's not cheap, but it's, I guess I should say a hero could take it. Enchanted item. If the bear's unit is wholly within a forest at the end of your movement phase and is not in close combat, it can forest walk. If it does so, remove it from the battlefield and immediately replace it wholly within any forest on the battlefield in the same formation but facing any direction. So, a forest walking unit cannot be placed within 1 inch of an enemy unit or impassable terrain. A unit that forest walks counts as having marched in the movement phase. And you can use that as many times as you want.
Yeah, that's like some good points denial stuff right there, especially if you're getting close to the end game. And you can just pop yourself wherever you need to be.
Or another thing you can do, which I was mentioning, is that you can use it to potentially set up a 3 or 4 side charge, depending on how everything is configured in geometry on the board. You can threaten those rear charges.
Yes, you can. And you can take your mage and Way Watchers and get out of dodge. It's pretty much whack-a-mole.
That's a very good analogy, yeah.
Whack an elf?
Whack an elf.
Oh, right on. Sounds like there's definitely going to be some interesting things. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of stuff that seems like it's really strong, which obviously makes sense because there has been a noticeable power creep in the most recent army books. But at the same time, they have done a lot for this book to make it different than others because they don't have a lot to deal. Previously, they didn't have a lot to deal with armor. So, I mean, everybody just brought treemen, and that was what they did. They dealt with that way. Now they actually have a lot of ways of dealing with armor, even though, yes, they're strength 3, but they don't have to worry about dealing with heavily armored cav units and things like that, because I mean, even if they really wanted to, they could bring metal, since they have access. So, I mean, I think they have a lot more versatility, because before it was just, okay, we're Wood Elves, we bring a bunch of the same list, just like the Tomb King's Plague. But I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. They're just selling new models, because yay for Rangers and Eternal Guard.
You got to be focused with your list. It's going to be difficult to make a all-comers list, because especially with the way those enchanted arrows are working, if you bring a big block of Glade Guard and give them a certain type of arrow, they're going to be good at a task. But, say they got multi-shot or the ignore penalties, they're going to kill a bunch of Night Goblins, but I mean, I'm not going to have that AP3. Or say I've got that AP3, I'm going to kill a lot of armor, but I'm not going to put out as many shots I'm going to need to deal with the green tide of orcs, so...
Yeah, from my initial thoughts on things, it seems like they're going to have a pretty easy job of specializing for certain circumstances. It's probably going to be a bit more difficult to make a tournament list, but hopefully, they're going to be able to do this at least to a decent degree, and we'll actually see them showing up at tournaments and stuff more often.
Well, I'm sure that you'll see some at the beginning, because there's always going to be the people that like the new models or like the new rules, and there's always going to be that guy that's going to show up with that Death Star that everybody doesn't want to deal with.
Well, the one thing you'll see that you can do in this book just as well, if not better than the Dark Elves do, is the Warlock Death Star. You can do that with Sisters. Especially with the High Elf magic jazz. You just don't want it in combat as much, I don't think. You can keep it ranged. Oh, by the way, all of my mages can take a bow and just take a bow. It's awesome. My level 4 is going to be shooting at strength 3, so I can't wait to do that.
Nice.
But the Sisters of the Thorn, for a board save, you go high magic, you avoid, you shoot magic missiles, you put fiery convocation out there, and you just whittle stuff down, and then you eventually go get the points with one of your blocks.
Well, you had mentioned something the other day it's really going to be bad if people exploit it, is the whole deal with the sisters and high magic with their inability to die, because they have the sisters that you have to kill both of them in the same phase in order for them to actually die, because if one dies but the other one does not, then it's resurrected at the end of the phase.
Yeah, the special character.
Oh, the special character?
Mm-hmm.
She's a hero choice, or they are hero choice. They're good, they're just cannon fodder as well, though. I mean, if you take the dragon, they're really expensive.
No, you don't need to take the dragon. You take the
No, I don't think the
Dragon.
You take the hawk, but you're gonna get shot up, and they're good. They're like a walking, talking, I don't know, artillery battery with fly.
That's never a bad thing.
No, and I guess one of the things they got going for them is they're like, okay, come deal with us. We're hard to deal with, and ignore the rest of my army. It's just kind of a distraction play. But they're also, whatever they shoot at, they're going to kill every turn. One of them has a bow that does a single strength 5 shot, flaming, multiple wounds, d6. The other one has a bow that does strength 1, poison, 2d6 shots, armor piercing. So they're going to kill a lot of stuff.
Yeah, those are monster slayers right there. That sounds pretty good. I'm just my main thing I'm hoping is that the effective strategies that do come out of it for all comers, I'm just hoping that they're not going to be fairly uniform. It's one of the things we saw for Dark Elves. We see a lot of witches now with the Cauldron. That's one of their best strategies.
That's because
in
it's
most
super
situations.
strong.
Yeah, and I'm hoping
It's
that
gonna happen.
Wood Elves will come out and there will be a few, relatively different viable builds that you can use with them. I'm hoping.
I think so.
We'll have to see.
I'll be
Time
interested to
goes
see
on.
how Swedes comp it. It'd be funny to me to see what they end up comping this as. Dryads are going to cost nothing in the comp, I'd imagine.
Well, Dryads
I mean-
will obviously fall in that category just because no one will take them. Just
Yeah.
like Marauders got hurt after they went to a reasonable point cost, and Swedish comp throttled them back because it's built off of what people normally bring.
But Way Watchers will be severely comped, stuff like that. So the only things I can really say would be auto include is definitely level 4, and Way Watchers. And Sisters are great. I don't think they're the auto include that you would think they'd be. But you got to get some high strength in there somehow. So I'd probably say Rangers or Shadow Magic. I think you'll see a lot of Shadow Magic.
Rangers are going to be an auto include with the ability to make a forest whatever you want. Strength 5 ASF. It's going to be rugged. Because like you said earlier, they can just sit in a abyssal wood and stand there and be points denial.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see how they're points denial when they are only -1 to hit with ballistical shooting, tough 3 with a 6-up armor. They've got to go get points or stay back.
That's what I'm saying. They can stay back. Nobody's going to want to go after them, especially if they cause fear or terror. Because they're going to do damage. In my opinion, anyhow.
That's an interesting paradox because you don't want to go after
I
them,
was-
but you have to.
I would go after them with non-great weapon elves. You're just going to kill them first.
What he's saying is basically I throw witch elves at them and it would probably just
Yeah, but
wreck their
not
day.
everybody has non-great weapon elves.
Or you take a Savage Orc Horde. Well, the Savage Orc Hordes kill everything.
Well, Savage Orc hordes kill everything.
But you
I mean,
can
you
even
can't
send a.
use them as an example. You put something in front of them, it's going to
All
die.
right, I'll put something else out there. A big block of Plague Bears. I'm going to save enough to where then I get my attacks back. I'm going to be poison and wounding on 3s. I'm going to win that combat. Demonettes are going to win that combat. But they're monster killers, and they're specialized enough, more so in comparison to, say, the OP-ness of White Lions, to where
That's another one, though.
that's just a whole different ballgame.
Yeah,
White Lions.
definitely.
Because White Lions can be survivable. You can give them that ward save. You can improve it.
Mm-hmm.
They've got that armor versus range, which is one of the reasons why I'm thinking, okay, you just take a big block of Glade Guard, give them the Bodkins, the AP -3, and say, okay, this unit is going to shoot armor. And that'll save you the points in rare for the Way Watchers. You can still take a unit of Way Watchers, but it'll give you those Eagle points. It'll give you the room for a Tree Man if you want to. I think it's a good core allotment to say, okay, my core is going to deal with armor, which is great.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good sign for the Wood Elves, though, that we're actually comparing them to some of the best-known, most elite units in the game. I think they're definitely up from where they were, which was pretty much dead last as far as strengths of the army list goes. And as you guys were mentioning earlier, they're a top-tier army now, and we're gonna have to get used to playing against them. You
gotta give it time. I'm not sure they're top tier yet, but
yeah, it's still
they're definitely better than Beastmen, which is great.
Yeah, it still feels like they're gonna have a certain amount of finesse that you're gonna have to get used to. But once that gets down and people get familiar with it, I think we're gonna see some interesting tactics start to develop, which would be cool.
Are you gonna want to play against Wood Elves? Let's get some opinions out there, because I mean, if they're playing an avoidance game, you're gonna spend 2 hours just not getting into combat and being shot at and slowly whittled. I see my hair getting pulled out playing against that.
Yeah, I can see the dwarf line having a lot of fun with the Wood Elves, but probably they're the only ones that are really going to enjoy it.
I don't know about that. I mean, if you're playing against Wood Elves are going to outshoot the dwarf gun line.
And I'm fast cap. I can be on you turn 2. I can be on you turn 1. So think about
like your mom.
Think about fast cap.
Move. Say that out loud. Oh, I didn't say that.
You did.
All right, Spud Low. I'm gonna Vanguard 12 inches and then move 18 at you. What are you going to do?
50 Iron Drakes.
It's a big point game.
Yeah, it's 3,500 points.
You'll kill one thing a turn. Enjoy. And then, and then, good luck reforming and taking all those dangerous strains that you fail on 1 or 2.
Ugh.
Oh no, castle in the corner. Just don't move. Don't reform. Don't do anything.
Yeah, hope you have a building in your deployment.
And not splits.
Yeah. And then I cast Fiery Convocation and I get to reroll the wound.
No, Dispel Rune. You didn't get it. You threw 6 dice.
Actually,
but
Dispel
you didn't
Rune
get 6s.
sounds scary. Anyways,
I know
it'll be a fun book. I'm glad they finally got some love here at the end of 8th. But I feel bad for the Bretonnians.
Well, they're up next, so they could be following suit. You never know what.
Well, there was talks of them being next, but I don't know if they're actually going to be. I wouldn't be surprised. GW hates Bretonnia in the respect of giving them a new army book.
They're just going to get folded in the
They're
Empire.
Just screwing with them at this point.
From what I found out, the Bretonnians were supposed to come out on this release. It was actually supposed to be Bretonnians out now, and Wood Elves were supposed to follow, but information got leaked significantly earlier than they anticipated, and the people higher ups in GW.
So what you're saying is they got butthurt and pulled it.
Yes, they wanted to rattle their sword and have people bow down to their ultimate power, and they changed the release order. So
what got leaked? I'd believe it if I knew anything that got leaked.
I actually don't know the information that got leaked. All I knew is that's what the slated order was going to be, and then they said they changed it, and now Wood Elves have come out, and it's pretty much a certainty that Bretonnians are next, which...
It was the Tyrion stuff that got leaked out, and then Chevy got all butthurt about it.
Oh, nice. Decided to punish Bretonnians.
Well, they punished a lot of people because they totally changed their whole...
Yeah, here's what's going to happen. You're going to see 9th edition come out early fall. Then you're going to see a brand new Empire book And along with the brand new Empire book, you're going to have a Bretonnian supplement for the Empire book.
Yep.
Oh, ouch.
Well, they've been hinting at allies in fantasy, so
I'm okay with this.
You chime in to be okay with allies.
That's right.
Yeah,
Empire and Bretonnia, it's great.
I know that would only happen if fantasy actually gets sold off. There's no way that GW is going to take two different ways of making money and merge them into one. They're only going to make half as much money that way, so they're always going to keep things apart.
They've got a great business plan. It's exactly what they've done with 40K. They released 6 Ed, allow Battle Brothers, and now they're about to release 7th, and they're taking Battle Brothers away. So all these people that play 40K have these little detachments that are now obsolete unless they bulk out the rest of their army. So they're quite literally selling 2 armies to people that only had 1.
Mm-hmm. It's like exactly what they do with
They're
flyers.
They're going to do that to us.
When they first released flyers, they were friggin' ridiculous. So everybody went and bought 2 flyers for their army, and then they changed them and didn't make them as ridiculous as they were. And now the rumors are being leaked again for 7th edition to where flyers are not going to be as strong as they were. So everybody went out and spent all that money.
Yeah, because for the 4 or 5 months that it happened, you had to have a flyer in your army if you were going to stand a chance. And even if you did, all you really needed were the Tyrannid Vector Strike crap, and you just kill everything. But that's 40K, and that's why I stopped playing that. And that's fine, because fantasy kicks ass, and that's why it rules the world. Period.
We're going to just let you know, once we do get some allies, you're going to see some Lizardmen and Wood Elves romping at Learn to Play. Just saying.
Romping? Lizardmen and...
Romping
so
and stomping.
who's on top and who's on bottom in that romp action?
But it goes by initiative order.
Okay, and on that, I will say thank you to everybody for being here on this wonderful podcast. And thanks to all the viewers for listening to this and everything that we've discussed. Hope you like everything about the Wood Elves that's come out. And stick around, stay tuned for more in the upcoming weeks as we babble about who knows what. And Steve continues to level his warrior.
That's right.
Deuces.
Night, everybody, and we will talk to you later. Till next time, keep fighting.